Hey guys, good morning. It's Sunday morning, the 7th, I believe, right? Yes, the 7th. Anyway, just wanted to give you guys some updates, talk to you a little bit about some interesting things I discovered last night, and folks I met last night, lessons I learned, um, and kind of give you, like I said, an update of where we are. I didn't have a lot of videos yesterday. I stayed down in Joseph City with Aaron and Christy, and they had a wedding back in Holbrook, and they went and got some dinner. But today, it's raining. I tell you, when I left the East Coast for the desert, I didn't expect the cold, I didn't expect rain, not like this. Anyway, it's raining pretty hard outside, um, as it stands right now, so that's going to play into my plans later this afternoon, but I'll share that with you as well. So anyway, first of all, let's start with today. So um, last night I was able to meet uh, Aaron and Christie's three children. Well, two of the three. One was sound asleep. So the two girls were just very personable and bright and a lot of fun. And if you know anything about me, you know my message at Point to Thumb is I want to get out to the kids as much as possible. My kids are the ones that inspired me, so it's always an opportunity when I can talk to the kids. Just I try to go a little bit further out of my way for that. Um, so today we'll be waking up. It's only about 6:15, 6:20 here in Arizona. I'm gonna try not to wake up the family, get a quick shower, and get settled for the day. Talk to my own kids, um, and then we'll get up and gonna be heading to church. And that's another reason why I stayed in town was to go to church with the folks on Sunday, and after that I'll be heading up towards the Flagstaff area, getting up there tonight. So that's the game plan for where I am and what I'll be doing. I don't have anything in line for tonight just yet, or anything lined up, um, but we'll just take it as it comes. It seems that everything always seems to take care of itself on its journey for the most part, so it's a blessing. But last night was interesting. It was a quiet day. It wasn't quiet. I spent the afternoon with just Christy and Aaron, and I'd say great people. It's just strange how you feel like family, and sharing some stories with them and hearing a lot about their background and their history. Um, you can't say any one particular story jumped out. It was just a very comfortable, um, just engaging day, and we just sat and talked most of the day, and then they got ready for the wedding, and then I went out to get something to eat, and I stopped at a little place in Holbrook, and there is where a couple of really cool stories happened for me and kind of what's happened on the journey. Um, the first thing is I met a woman. Um, I won't use her name, but there was a lot to be learned. She was she was in her early 40s, and I didn't go into a lot of detail, but she made it clear. And again, people tell me a lot of things that they may not tell perfect strangers. I'm not sure why that is, but um, she'd had some difficulties in her life, including serving some jail time. Uh, she been bounced around a little bit. Her dad was in the Air Force, but didn't have by her explanation, didn't wasn't the best dad, and had his own issues he battled for sure. But that's what brings me full circle. Is one of the reasons why she's in town working where she is because she came back to take care of her dad. Um, he's not doing well physically, and there was a certain comfort in the way she described it, and how she her family members, her siblings, haven't been able to forgive and get past um, their pain and their hurt, and she has. She was able to let it go and try to make his last days as peaceful as can be, and give herself peace of mind. And she says she tends bar now, and as she said, just the night before, there were a couple of times the police were called to the place because of fights, and she says she sits back now in her young 40s and looks back at what the kids do and the young people do, and she was one of them once, and she can grab them and grab them by the shoulders and just talk to them and go, look, I was you. This is the path you're going on. This is where you're going to end up. It just a lot of times in this journey, I've met people. I've had people text me, email me, sort of about redemption or changing themselves. And like I said, here's a woman that at some point in her life was lost, was incarcerated, serving time, and has a lot of reasons to maybe want to point the finger and be angry and be mad. And she made a conscious decision to not be, to let that go, to point the thumb at herself and take care of herself and get herself in a good place. And she was talking to me about her two children, which are now in college, with so much pride and so much love, and they're both doing outstanding. And give her credit too. While a lot of it is genetics, her ex, essentially did the heavy lifting and the majority probably the majority of raising those kids and mentoring them. So, not all is lost, and where I give her credit is in the fact that she could, give him credit and point the finger in that direction in that case and say, he did a real good job. A lot of people don't want to begrudgingly will give credit. She was very willing to give credit. So that was a neat story last night. Then, a little bit later, a couple walked in from the Netherlands, and I started to speak with them. And very nice folks. But I found something was eye-opening to me. And I guess, so here's what I asked. I asked them, how does the rest of the world see the U.S. politics, something of a circus that's going on? It doesn't matter right now. It's always going to be a circus. It's just the way we treat politics. And they said something. They said a few things, but one of them struck me as reality. And I don't think that we could ever get away from it now. We've just set the precedent. And here in Arizona, if you watch a little TV, there's some political ads right now. And every one of them, and I'm sure it's not just here in Arizona, it's everywhere, but the ones in particular, so-and-so, voted to, beat seals with clubs, and so-and-so voted to spit on children, and so-and-so did this, vote this person. And that's what our whole society has become in a nutshell to me. It's always telling you what the other person did, not what you stand for, not what your platform is, but they voted against what's important to you. They took food off your plate. They did this, so vote for me. And it's true. It's exactly what every commercial I've seen out here is. And I don't think this is any different than anywhere else. And it's a shame because television is what people watch. Television is what people see. And this is what our young people are seeing. And even not our young people, our older people are seeing it. And then we wonder why we're in such a negative place, in a negative society. And then the other thing they were telling me that I thought was interesting was their news back home in the Netherlands leads off with U.S. politics. It leads off with the Kavanaugh testimony. It leads off with Donald Trump and his tweets and his positive, whatever. It just leads off with, and here in our country, I would think it would be the headline. It's our country. I never realized how significant a role that the world was in looking at our politics. I think Evelyn had mentioned that. I think the statistics were 80% of Europe's homes were watching the presidential election. And think about that for a minute. As Americans, we're so, I know we are, we're so wrapped up in our own world and our own lives that most of us don't give a whole heap about what's happening in other parts of the world, in other countries. I used to laugh as a kid. I remember I'd always say this. You'd read about the suicide bomber in Israel or Jerusalem or wherever. and it would be on page 12 in a section about this big, you know. That's humans, that's humanity, that's our race. And it was covered with a little blurb about this big on page 9 or 10 of the newspaper. But yet, something happened in our own country that's, front page. And I don't know if that's why we get a reputation as being, ugly Americans. And I don't even know if we have that reputation. I just have heard the term, But the world really is tuned in to us and what we do and how we act and how we portray ourselves. As they said, our negotiations with North Korea right now are substantial. If bombs go flying, they're flying right over these folks, and the whole world is watching. And I didn't realize that. I really didn't. I would have thought that well, just like us, we're all kind of worried about ourselves, not worried about a whole lot of others. But the whole world really seems to be watching what it is we're doing and how we're behaving. That Kavanaugh hearings was leading the news for them. So, and then they shared, another thing. Their political party has they have 12 different parties or so that have nominees that you can vote for, and then they all work together to a common cause. We're limited to just two, and two people, and those are our choices only. I mean, we have more choices than that, getting to that point, but ultimately we have a choice of two people to pick. And there's probably something innately wrong with that. I do want to go back to the family that I'm staying with. There was a story yesterday that did stand out for me. So, Christy was bought a horse when she was like 12 years old, Gaucho. And, horses require a lot of love, a lot of work, a lot of effort, but it taught her a lot of things, because before school she'd have to go down, after school she'd have to go down, so it taught her responsibility. I think my daughter rides horses and doesn't own one and couldn't afford that, but there is certainly a great deal of responsibility. But one of the reasons they picked where they did pick to live was because the horse could come live in their backyard. But a few years ago, he was suffering. He was 35 years old, and they had to put the horse down. But I talked the day before about the dynamic between Christy and Aaron, two young people that truly, really care about each other, and it complement each other very well. But she was telling the story, and you almost see the tears in her eyes, because I think sometimes we forget to, not respect, but forget to appreciate the ones closest to us. Sometimes we appreciate others more than we appreciate the ones closest to us. And the way the story goes is that typically, and this may sound crass and I apologize, but essentially when a horse dies, they basically, as it was explained to me, will lift it up, put it on a flatbed and take it to a landfill and just dump it. Well, this horse was part of her life for so long, she couldn't see that being done. So, Aaron and a friend, they literally rigged up a pallet where they could take the horse, put it on the pallet. They were able to cover it out of respect with sheets and nail the sheets down. And then his parents own about 10 acres, and they went with a backhoe and dug out a hole. And he was able to get this pallet onto a truck, take this truck over to a home, forklift it up, and set it down gently into the hole, and cover it up as, almost you would with a human, and with such respect. And but it took a lot of effort, a lot of planning, a lot of doing, and there's not a lot of people that would go out of their way like that to do that. Move on, get over it, go the old way. But and what I thought was really poignant for me was that it wasn't Aaron telling a story about, look what I did. It was Christy telling a story about, what Aaron did for me and for Gaucho, and just the emotion and the appreciation. As I said, I think sometimes we tend to take the ones closest to us and forget to tell them how much we appreciate them and love them. So to those of you in my life, my mom, my brother, Jamie, my kids, Heather, to all the people that have helped me on my journey, don't think for a second I don't appreciate the sacrifices you've made, the efforts you've made. From me to you guys, I love you, thank you very much, and have yourselves a great day. All right, happy Football Sunday, guys.